Welcome to another episode of the Conversations for Financial Professionals podcast, where we are shaping the next generation of financial advice. Today, I have the one and only Bob Virus. Bob, you are editor and publisher of the Inside Information. You've been, you're one of these, I would call you almost kind of like the godfather of the profession. I kind of see you as this tour guide of people wanting to understand the ins and out of this journey. So welcome to the podcast, my friend.
Well, thank you. Thanks for having me.
Yeah. I'm really excited to dive into this topic of, or what I've kind of coined as creative ways to address the lack of color. And no better to do that with a black male and a white man, right?
I don't know. I'm thinking there might be a better solution than having me on, but I'm definitely not an expert in this subject, but I've been worried about it for years.
No, and I think that's a good point, because I think one of the reasons why you're worried about it, I've read a lot of what you've wrote, and I've listened to a lot of where you've talked. And what I can tell, and I think what most people can tell, is that you care about the profession, which is probably the reason why you've been worried about it, because it is a problem.
Yeah, no question.
Well, let me start with this. There's a lot to kind of dive into. I'm not particularly, and even though this is a little, I guess, maybe backwards because of what I just said, but I'm not really into the labels for the sake of labels with black and white. However, there's a lot of people in this industry, obviously, and it's skewed towards a demographic that looks white male, right? Stale, pale, and male is something that I've heard before in the industry. I want to hear your perspective, though, of why, since you do care so much, why is this such an issue from not only the provider of financial services, but I think particularly the consumer of financial services?
Well, this is not, of course, confined to our profession. We have a terrible and centuries-long legacy of having two societies, and the African-American society, and to some extent the Hispanic society, has been systematically discriminated against for, as I said, centuries. And before that, there was slavery. So you have this long-standing legacy of the inability to build wealth that was built right into the way the system worked. And now you have, I think that's finally starting to thaw. I mean, when I was young, it was unthinkable for an African-American man to be an executive. I remember going to the airport and flying and realizing that there was an African-American person, a man, on the plane with me, and thinking, boy, that's odd. That's very strange. And this was in the 1980s, this is not that long ago.
Yeah.
So there has been societal progress, if you will, but in the meantime, there's been this evolution of separate cultures, and necessarily so. When you exclude people based on a visible sign of who they are, the color of their skin, they have to, in turn, create their own society, their own culture. And what we have now, I think, in most lily white financial planning firms is a discomfort about that culture. And you see that parodied in some of the comics. They talk about, or I walk into the office and they immediately want to talk about, some black celebrity, or they want to talk about, stuff that they think I might be interested in. And that discomfort, I think, shows up in our profession. You have somebody who comes in and says, I'm fully qualified to be a financial planner. I've got a degree. I've been doing this for years. And your first thought is, how is this person going to fit in? And would I be comfortable having this person here, not understanding what the cultural issues might be? Is it
a surprise to you that we're still dealing with this at such a large scale? And I know, given you said that it's not exclusive to financial services, but we're both industry experts here, so we can talk to this industry. Is it surprising to you that it's as bad as it is, or the disparity still exists as wide as it is in 2020?